G'day folks and welcome to Cinema Australia. My name's Matthew Eeles and today I'm joined by someone who I think's going to go quite far in this industry if he keeps working at it hard enough, Bryan Brown. Thank you very much for joining us.
Pleasure, Matt. G'day everyone, how are you going?
Bryan, you must be one of the only actors in the world who has ever starred in a film which has had the same title as another film. Because you starred in a film called Palm Beach in 1980 by L.B. Tom?
L.B. Toms,
yeah.
Yes. It was about sex, drugs and rock and roll. It was completely... there wasn't one thing written there. Everything was improvised. Every scene was improvised. Wow. Which means there's some really good stuff in there and some really not so good stuff in there. But yes, it's quite interesting. When we came around to do this one, we decided that it had to be called Palm Beach and... And I won't be in the one that's made in 30 years' time.
Well, so tell us about your character Frank in Palm Beach.
Well, Frank's a self-made fella. He's made money. He started off with T-shirts and had artists design it. It's based a bit like Dare Jennings, who started Mambo. Became very successful. Sold his business. He's able to afford to buy a house that has the most extraordinary view. That's what his work's led him to.
Minus the chimney.
Minus the chimney. That's a little thing for you all. But you think that everything should be fine for a bloke like that. But he's sold the business 5 years beforehand, and he's not sure which way's up. He's lost all purpose, and he's in a bit of mental anguish. And as we meet the other characters that come to celebrate his birthday with him, we find out that they're all struggling with things.
And speaking of those other characters, all of the actors who play these characters are terrific. They ooze charisma. It oozes through the screen. But two people in the film who impressed me the most were the young actors, Francis and Charlie.
Charlie Vickers.
Yeah. Can you tell us a bit about working with them?
Charlie is an young Australian actor who lives in London, working his way in there, see what happens to him. And we got him to, we were interested in him when we heard about him, and we got him to audition over Skype with us. It's funny doing those things because you can't say you do that line. We'll do it. We'll read from the script because the time thing on Skype didn't work so good like that.
Right.
So I said, okay, mate, just tell us about your father, pretending that the character in the one. Tell me about your relationship with your father. And he just rattled on for about, 5 minutes, and he was fantastic, and was like, yep, good, he got the job. So he's terrific. And young Frances Berry, talented young girl. Charlie has a lot more to do in it than Frances does, but she's a wonderful young talent.
So the film is directed by Rachel Ward, obviously, your wife.
Yep.
But I read recently that she wasn't going to direct the film originally. Was it Screen Australia who recommended Rachel? How does that go down when you say to the wife, oh, hey, these guys recommended I get you to make our movie?
Well, there's a little bit more behind it than that. I did start developing this story with Deb Balderstone, the other producer, for a couple of years. Because I wanted it to go down the line of the movie that I wanted to make, because I'd had this thought about this idea that I wanted to make. So there's no point in me handing it over immediately to someone else. I wanted to go, okay, this is roughly where we've got to now is what I want the story, what I want it to be about. Now bring on a director to take it on board for the next couple of years to start shaping it, giving it the world that it should be. I'd always had in the back of my mind that Rachel was the right person for it, but I didn't want to sort of come out heavy-handed on doing that. It was interesting when we started to go, okay, well, we better start talking about who we want to bring on board. And Deb was the first one. Deb Balderstone said, well, Bryan, Rachel should do it. And it was at that time that Screen Australia said, look, who were behind the project saying, what about Rachel Ward directing it? So it was good that they did it, so I could say, well, I agree with that, rather than me look like I was pushing for Rachel to do it. So she got the job.
I'm a big fan of James Raine. I grew up listening to his music, courtesy of my parents. Big fan of his music. And you're a fan of him too,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, and I've known him for a while. Yeah, right. James is fabulous.
What was it like having him on board to write this terrific song?
Well, Joanna Murray Smith wrote Fearless. Rachel then worked on it with Joanne, with the lyrics, and then we said, look, we've got to get someone to now arrange this. And, you know, we all like the idea of James. I think James' name was the first name that was mentioned, and said, well, let's get in touch with him, give him these lyrics and see what he thinks. And he said, yeah, I can write a song. I can write that, and I'll do it. And that'll be on the soundtrack that goes out. And, of course, it ends the movie.
Yeah, and it's a terrific song.
Yeah.
It's catchy.
Great song, catchy.
Yeah.
Right up James's alley, yeah.
I've got one final question. There are a lot of people out there who would love to have someone look at them the way that Sam Neill looks at you. I mean, you two have one of the best bromances ever. Well, can you describe for us a weekend away with Sam Neill and what it would be like?
Well, we've had weekends away. Recently, he came up to my place, up the country, place that I've got up there for a weekend, and basically, it's just yapping. We just sort of go and then we'll get a coffee somewhere, and then I'll go for a surf and he'll go for a walk on the beach or something, and then we'll sit down and in the area where I am, I know a few of the locals there, and they'll come over and have a coffee and we'll just chat about life, and I guess we'll touch all sorts of subjects. You know, we'll touch family, our children, politics at the time. We'll talk about movies that we've seen, and sometimes disagree totally on whether we like something or don't. It's very relaxed. And then we'll go in the evening. I'll have bought some fish from the local fish bloke, and he'll usually do the cooking. And then he'll start off with a glass of 2 paddocks, his own wine. I'll have a beer and then move on to his wine.
Sounds like the best weekend ever.
Yeah, it's very nice. Look, we've known each other for a long time. We have very good chats and stuff, and we have some bloody good arguments too. Yeah.
Terrific. Bryan, thank you very much for joining us.
Pleasure.
And folks, make sure you go out and see Palm Beach. It's in cinemas August 8.
Terrific.
Thanks, Bryan.
Thank you, mate.
Oh, Dad, you are an obstinate, blinkered, anal, obstreperous control freak.
That's nice. Must be my birthday.
Hello! I know we don't get to see each other as much as we would like to, but when we do, I gotta say it's sort of wonderful.
To friendship.
To friendship.
Welcome aboard, sir.
You've done well, Frank. Real shame about that chimney. Just a tiny blip on paradise.
Our agreement. I've rethought, Lottie.
What?
Just hear me out.
We resolved it 20 years ago. We made a pact, Leo.
I'm not who I was.
Just be who you were.
I've been approached to play a grandmother.
Oh, no. 60's the new 40, you know.
Yeah, sure. From behind and in the dark.
Look at us. Failed jingle writer and an aging actress. The world we live in, it's over for us.
Why is Billy such an ungrateful bastard?
Listen, you little shit.
Get stuffed.
What the hell's that?
Frank!
What are you doing, Frank?
I hate you!
No, you don't.
Why'd you come? We're here to celebrate the rational, mature, wise old bloke you've become.
Talk to me, Frank.
I should never have sold the business. Ever since I've sold it, I've felt dead.
At least you have other things. Never wanted kids. Now look at yours. You have bloody great kids, Frank.
All those years he was married to his bloody business.
Oh, he got better.
It was much more than just a fling, Lottie.
I sabotage every good thing, and you're the best thing.
Sometimes you just appreciate what's in front of you. Promise me that the next 10 years are going to be our best.
You're so lucky. Why? Billy still loves you. The way he looks at you.
Oh, he's just too vain to wear his glasses.
All he sees is a blur.